Hello students, welcome to StudyIQ. In this session, we are going to talk about ideal types. So you already know that this is a concept which is given by Weber. So we have already discussed about Weber, the complete idea about Weber we have done, and then we have also talked about social action. So what is sociology according to Weber? It is a science which aims at interpretive understanding of social action in order thereby to arrive at an explanation of cause and effect. So sociology is a science. Sociology is trying to establish cause and effect. How? Interpretive understanding of social action. So you should study social action, interpretive understanding of social action, and arrive at an explanation of cause and effect. So there are two elements which you can see in this definition, which is connected to positivism. That is, directly you can see science and cause and effect relationship, and you can see two elements related to non-positivism, that is interpretive understanding and also the study of social action, which is internal meanings attached by the actor to his action. And Weber said you have to understand the meanings attached by the actor to the action to actually interpret the social action. For example, I am doing a social action here, so I have given you the conditions for social action. There should be an action, it should be having certain meanings which is attached by the actor to the action, and it should be oriented towards some other person. So this meaning has to be identified clearly so that you can establish the cause and effect relationship according to Weber. And he proposed methods like Verstehen. We have already done the discussion on Verstehen. I have given you I have given you content for 20 marker, but 10 marker will be asked. So I have taken a separate session on social action, and then after that we have taken a separate session for Verstehen. For 10 marker we have prepared that, and we have also taken a separate session for causal pluralism or causal probabilism, and I have given you example also, and I have shown you the demonstration of the use of causal pluralism in different cases, in case of social action, in case of Protestant ethic in terms of spirit and substance. If you remember, we have discussed, and I have shown you that demonstration also with the diagram. And then in case of ideal type, I've told you we will discuss later. So we are going to discuss ideal type today. We have also discussed about comparative analysis. Again, we have demonstrated with the case of Protestant ethic and spirit of capitalism how he did the comparative analysis by constructing the ideal types of Protestant ethic on one side and capitalism on the other side. So we have discussed about Verstehen, we have discussed about causal pluralism, we have discussed about comparative analysis, and I've also briefly talked about ideal types when we discussed about social action. Okay, and here is the separate discussion on ideal type, like what we have done in case of other methods. So these are the main 4 methods which you can expect from Weber in the paper 1, in the part 1, in the compulsory papers, or in the compulsory 5 questions you can expect 1 question from here. And Durkheim also we have discussed various methods like indirect experiment, multidisciplinary, multivariate analysis. Okay, all these can be, why I am putting it in part 1 and compulsory question, because these can also be asked as a part of your 3rd chapter, that is research methods. So these are the methods which are proposed by Weber and demonstrated by Weber, except one, that is Verstehen. I have told you the criticism of Verstehen, that Weber himself never used this method. That itself is actually raising a question whether it is a good method or not. Okay, so apart from that, that area is clear. Now this is our last discussion on Weber. So with this we will be completing Weber, and then obviously we have critical analysis left out. As usual, what we do in the first case, I'll talk about contribution, general criticism and the relevance, which is common to all answers of Weber. Any question which is asked from Weber, you can write all the same contribution, same general criticisms, like Weber is considered as a micro sociologist. Okay, and similarly Weber's approach lack of value commitment. All these things you can write as the general criticism, and then contribution also. And specific criticisms I will give you separately, because we need to have specific criticism for social action, we need specific criticism for Verstehen, causal pluralism, comparative analysis, ideal types. For all these you need specific criticisms. Okay, so that I will give you separately, and another sessions I'll take. So with that we can complete. That's how we are planning. If you see Marx thinker, when we discussed about Marx, we have discussed about all the theory, then we went for critical analysis. Same is the case what we have done in case of Durkheim also. We went for all the theories, then critical analysis. So here Weber also, we are going for all the theories and then critical analysis. Okay, so if you have missed out any of the videos on sociology, you can get in touch with me here. That's my Instagram ID, Zia Safir. Okay, my name is Safir. So this is my Instagram ID Zia Safir. This is my Telegram channel also. You can join the Telegram channel. You will get all my videos over there, all sociology, and my Zoom lectures are also direct lectures or are also available in the Telegram channel. Apart from that, you will find history videos, okay, economy videos, post-independent series I'm starting, that is available, and ethics videos already available, and quantitative aptitude for CSAT. Although it is done at a CAT level, it is done for CAT, but it is also applicable for CSAT. Okay, so if you wish to write any test series on sociology or GS, or if you need to join any answer writing programs, okay, you can get in touch with me here. This is my number, 9790 892 697 or 98955 77775. So all the videos and everything is available. This is my Facebook ID also, or if you need to see in Facebook page, this is the Facebook page, the IAS. So all these videos and everything, materials and everything is available in the channel. If you are interested in taking regular classes or my live classes or Zoom classes or the test series, then you can get in touch with me in this number. Okay, so let's get started with ideal types. So as we have already discussed before, what do you mean by ideal types? Ideal types in simple terms are nothing but the regularities. So what are ideal types? Ideal types are regularities. So when I'm talking about ideal types of family, I'm talking about regularities of family. That means regularly seen or understood elements of family. So what all things will come to your mind when I'm talking about family? Or similarly, what are the ideal types of religion? When I'm talking about a particular religion, what all things will come to your mind? That is your ideal type. When I talk about marriage, what all things will come to your mind? That is the regularities, and that's what I mean by the ideal type. When I'm talking about capitalism, when I'm talking about power, when I'm talking about authority, when I'm talking about democracy, what all things will come to your mind as election, political parties, okay, all these things will come to your mind. These are the regularities and these are the ideal types. So you don't want to make it very complex. People study ideal type, I trust you, and I bet you 90% of the people study ideal type without actually understanding what is ideal type, and just because it is there in your syllabus, you just mug it up, and that's actually not required. I tell you 90% because I'm seeing hundreds of paper every day. I'm evaluating at least around 500-600 people are taking test series with me. So I'm evaluating at least 100 paper in at least in 1 week for sure. Daily 10 to 15 I'm evaluating. So I can see the people are writing the answers just by mugging it up from different sources. Only the language is different, but it is easily understood that they actually don't know the concept and they're simply writing, and the ready-made examples also. Okay, so simple terms, the conceptual understanding, if you need to go for ideal types, are the regularities, regularly seen elements. That's enough. That's about ideal types. So if you talk about family, let's move on to the actual concept. If you move on to the see, I can explain the technical language and everything. I'll go to that. With this PDF, I can do that. And what are the different types of ideal type? How to construct ideal type? What is the role of a trained investigator for ideal type? What are the criticisms of ideal types? Where are the applications of ideal types? Everything technically I will do. But the first 2-3 minutes, I will try to explain the concept here. Okay. So if you talk about family, what all things will come to your mind? What are the regularly seen elements of family? Or let's talk about functions. What are the regular functions of family? Let's say economic security. So family gives you economic security, right? Secondly, family gives you emotional security, right? Family also provides sexual gratification. Family will take care of child. Okay, so taking care of child, taking care of aged, etc. So these are few functions, many more are there, but these are the things which come to your mind. These are the ideal types. That's it. So if somebody is asking you what is ideal type, ideal types are the regularities. Ideal types are the regularities. Now if you extend regularities of an abstract phenomena, what is abstract phenomena here? Family. Why it is abstract? Because you can't see that, or these are which is outside your outside the individual. So these are considered as abstract phenomena. So ideal types are the regularities related to any abstract phenomena. So you can study that particular abstract phenomena by studying the regularities. Now one more thing what I want to tell you is, you take individual element. let's say emotional security here. So if I'm telling only emotional security, can you consider or can you understand or can you relate it with family? No. So what I want to tell you is the individual elements may be meaningless. Sometimes with individual element you can understand, but individual element may be meaningless. But if you combine those individual elements, like if I'm telling all these, then there is only one institution which will satisfy all those conditions, that is family. So by combining all the regularities, you can identify the abstract phenomena. So I hope you understood. If you need to study a phenomena, you study the ideal types. That is what the method which Weber proposed. Individual elements may be meaningless, but if you combine that, you will get the clear picture of the phenomena. Okay, so that's all about ideal type, and the different use of ideal types you will see in his different approaches. So already we have talked about authority. We have done that discussion on authority. So if you remember, I've talked about 3 ideal types: the traditional authority, rational legal authority, charismatic authority. So these are the ideal types, and what I've told you, any type of authority you see that you can combine or compare it with any of this, or you can combine it with any of this. In the modern democracy, the situation, it can be a combination of charisma as well as the rational legal authority. So I'm using these words because we have already discussed it. Then again, if you see in case of social action, we have discussed 4 ideal types. What are they? Traditional action, affective action, Word rational action, Zweck rational action, and I've told you how you can use the concept of ideal type over there. And then again, when we have discussed about the theory of Protestant ethic and spirit of capitalism, that's a clear-cut example of use of ideal types in sociology, right? So on one side, he constructed the ideal types of Protestant ethic. If you remember, the ideal types are in terms of own glory, notion of calling, predestination. Okay, so this worldly asceticism. So these are the ideal types he collected in terms of Protestant ethic, that is from Calvinism. And on the other side, capitalism, like wealth to be used for creation of more wealth, individualism, profit motive, okay, etc. And then various type of ethics like time is money, devotion to work. All these things we have discussed under the ideal type of capitalism, and I've told you how the comparative analysis has been taken and how the relationship and the cause and effect relationship has been actually established by Weber in the theory of Protestant ethic and spirit of capitalism. So all these are the examples that you need to add in this. Now, what is the role of a trained investigator? Because when you're identifying the regularities, a trained investigator is required. Otherwise, you may compromise on objectivity, because it all depends on the investigator. What all the regularities you will choose, it all depend on the investigator. So now itself, I hope you understood the criticism of ideal type. So Weber stressing on studying the subjective reality objectively. Objective study of subjective reality, that means study the social action, meanings attached by the actor to his action, but study objectively by using scientific methods. That's what Weber proposed, and for that purpose only Weber gave all these methods like Verstehen, ideal type, causal pluralism, causal probabilism, comparative analysis, all these. But if you see within all these we have discussed, and the criticism also we have discussed. Same is the case here also. If you see the ideal type, what is the problem here? Everything is left out to the investigator. So the investigator subjectivity is very much high in this. For example, Weber himself in the theory of Protestant ethic and spirit of capitalism, when he chose the ideal type of Protestant ethic, he selected those ideal type which suit his conclusion, which will match with capitalism, so that he can establish the cause and effect relationship very easily. Similarly, when he constructed the ideal types of Hindu religion or Indian religion, he ignored various aspects which is discussed in Bhagavad Gita, and it was later identified, and that Milton Singer study also I have discussed before when we discussed about Protestant ethic and spirit of capitalism, the industrialist of Madras. Okay, how the joint family ethics created or developed capitalism in India. So all these aspects are actually ignored by Weber, and it was a biased view. So even though Weber claims for objectivity, but his studies are totally subjective. Forget about his studies. When another person who's going to use the ideal types, the regularities that the another person, that the investigator who's going to choose, may be completely colored by that person's subjectivity. So there is no question of ensuring objectivity if you are using ideal types. There is a high probability that investigator bias will be reflected in the method of ideal type. That's the most important criticism. Apart from that, Weber says ideal types are the measuring rod or or analytical construct, etc. But he never gave any scale or the way you identify the ideal types properly. He never talking about that. So all these are the criticisms that may be coming to your mind, and exactly the same as what you need to write. When we discuss about specific criticism in the critical analysis, I will give you each thinker what they said on the each methods. Okay. So I hope you understood. Let's move on to the PDF now and let's wind it up faster. So this is a potential 20 marker also, not just 10 markers. So I'm giving you enough content here. So examples, I'm just referring to the examples. You need to elaborate it. So ideal types. Weber used extensively the method of ideal types for the purpose of objective sociological research. Okay, so we have already discussed that Weber's approach is objective understanding of subjective reality. So conduct the study objectively. So for that purpose, he proposed a lot of method. Ideal type is one among that. The concept of ideal type had been earlier used, but Weber was the first person who employed it as a method for establishing plurality of causes. What do you mean by plurality of causes? We have already discussed in the causal pluralism, so I'm not getting into that detail. Ideal types are the abstractions which are employed in order to understand the complexities of social life. It pertains to identifying the elements of reality in terms of abstraction, which when combined can help us understand the reality. So individual elements is meaningless. If it is combined, this is the most important word, if it is combined, you can actually understand the reality. So ideal type act as the measuring rod for the investigator. Actual phenomena can be understood by comparing it with the ideal type. So when we discussed about social action, I've told you 4 ideal types of given: traditional action, affective action, word rational action, and Zweck rational action. These are nothing but ideal type. These are nothing but the regularities. When I say ideal type, it is a regularity. So actual action can be compared with the action that I am taking, can be compared with any of the 4. It can be fitting into any of the 4, or it can be combination. Similarly, the action that you are taking also, every actions can be compared with any of the ideal type. That's what written here. All the important sentences and the words I have underlined already. So according to Weber, ideal types are not realities in themselves. I've told you now, if I'm talking about taking care of aged, there are many institutions which can take care of aged. Taking care of child, there are many institutions, child care centers, old age homes. Sexual gratification is not necessarily family, right? So ideal types are not realities in themselves, but when combined, you can express the reality that is a family in our example. So realities in themselves, but these are ways to express reality. The individual element may be meaningless, but when compared with other elements, gives the view of reality. According to Weber, it is not a new method and commonly used by human beings to comprehend the reality. Now, formulation of ideal types. These are formed by the combination of indefinite number of elements, which though found in reality, but are rarely or never discovered in specific forms. According to Weber, the task of interpretation of these elements must be done by a trained investigator who is competent in that sphere. The investigator must be capable of seeing the reality through the eyes of the individual actor. So if I am doing some action, if somebody is studying that, the investigator must be capable of seeing the reality through the eyes of the actor. I have told you the same point when we discussed about Verstehen. Okay. Thus, the elements are to be identified not as external realities, but on the basis of individuals' interpretation of the subject in question. I've told you when it comes to Durkheim, he is stressing on external reality. Individual act according to the external reality. You are preparing for this exam because of the pressure of society. Okay, but Weber says no, that's not the case. Those external realities rest within the mind of the individual, and individual take action based on his own interpretation of that reality. Otherwise, if it is based on external pressure, everybody should have prepared for this exam, right? No, that is not the case. You are applying your mind. It's your own interpretation of the external reality, and you are preparing for this exam. So that action that you are taking, having some influence of external reality, but not directly. It is there in mind, and indirectly there is an influence. But actually, it is an individual's own interpretation of the external reality. Okay. So thus ideal types contain some specific traits identified by the investigator. Don't make it complex, it's a very simple concept, and in fact if you see my all classes, all the thinkers class, I've made it very simple. Thinkers is no more a nightmare for you, and thinkers is my strong area, and you might have already understood that I've simplified it to the extent possible. And if you're not able to understand it here, I promise you, I can bet you, you will never understand it after reading any textbooks or after attending any classes. So this ideal types is very simple concept. Many people have difficulty, but you should not be one among that. Once you attend the session, then there is no point in feeling that difficulty in this particular topic. Same as the case with certain topics are there like lineage and descent. Okay, we will come to that, so I'll tell what is that at that time. So but you will not understand that it is difficult for you when you are reading, when you are studying. You may think that those easy concept, but it will be reflected in the paper, because what ultimately matters, it's the understanding what matters. And who's evaluating the paper? It is a sociologist who is evaluating the paper. Just by seeing, he can actually understand. So what I'm trying to give you is, when you're writing the paper, there should be a glimpse, some element of sociologist should be there in your approach. You should write the answer sociologically. So that approach is what I'm actually giving. In the future session, you will understand it better. Once we're done with thinkers, our base will be set, and then we can go in a much better way. Okay, the ideal type concept will develop. So there's a statement which you can write. The ideal typical concept will develop or skill in imputation and research. It is not a description of reality, but it aims to give means of expression to such a description. Types of ideal type. In Weber's writings, the method of ideal type has been extensively used. It is the most prominent method used by Weber to establish cause and effect relationship. Broadly, the different ideal types formulated by Weber can be classified into, you can see here first one, ideal types of historical particulars. So that is Protestant ethic and spirit of capitalism is an example here. You can write that. There is no point in explaining it further. Weber developed ideal types of various historical phenomena in order to undertake a comparative analysis. We have done with this discussion. Further establishment of cause. For example, Protestant ethics, this also we have done, so you can explain from the theory. I'm not discussing it here. Now, we have already done that. Ideal types of abstract element of social reality, like social action, again we have done. So here there is no point in explaining it. For example, traditional action coming out of certain belief or moral value, certain belief or tradition, and the consciousness is very less. Affective action is coming out of some emotion, consciousness is spontaneous, and vote rational action to uphold the moral values of society, and Zek rational action, it is goal oriented. Similarly, the types of authority, 3 types: traditional authority, charismatic authority, rational, legal authority. Apart from that, ideal type of construction of particular type of behavior, Weber constructed ideal types of economic, political and religious behaviors also. You can add examples here from our discussion. So I hope this is clear. Ideal types, it's a for sure 10 mark. See, what all things that we have discussed now, Westerhan, ideal type, comparative analysis, causal pluralism. Out of this 4, 1 is for sure. Okay, so 25% probability is there to get 1/4 probability is there to get 1 question from this 4, and all are connected, all are very simple in all the cases except Westerhan. We are using the same examples, so it is going to be super easy for you. And if this question is asked now, you have to attempt it, and it is very high scoring if the concept is understood. If you're not able to understand the concept, if you didn't understand the concept even now, then it is better to leave the question rather than mugging up and writing the answer, because you are not going to get marks at that point of time, because when you put it in the paper, what you're writing will be entirely different. Okay, but it's a very simple concept. Still, if you have any doubt, I've already given you my contact details and everything. You can get in touch with me for the test series and the answer writing program or anything what you want. Otherwise, you can, any general case, you can message me here, Instagram. Okay, so follow the Telegram channel, you get all my videos over there. So see you guys. Thank you.